was, who are you outside of basketball? And raise a hand, how many of you can answer that question? One guy, two, three. Three people. Out of how many are here? Anyone can be out? What is this, 20 of you? So 3 out of 20 of you know who you are outside of basketball. In my opinion, that's something that all of you guys need to pay attention to. Because one day this game isn't going to be here for you. One day this game isn't going to be around for you to just come in, take up your shots, make your layups, and work on who you want to be. So it's about what are you going to do after this. Myself, being in front of you today, having that wonderful introduction from Coach Josh, some of you may have seen me before, recognize me. I couldn't be in this gym at your age. You guys are 16, right? 16, 15. At 16 years old, I was getting out of the hospitals. I was in a hospital until I was 18 years old because I had a very rare genetic disease where me and my brother were 2 out of 50 cases broke by. So going back to the question that I'm asking you guys of who you are outside of basketball, that's who I was. I didn't have any identity other than being weak, other than being sick. And the 10% that I could show up to school, or the 10% I could pick up a basketball, do you think I would be able to thrive? Do you think I even have the opportunity to train? Do you think I even have the opportunity to have coaches? Not really. And I say that because it's a privilege for when you guys get to be on the team. It's a privilege for when you guys get to show up in the gym. And it's a privilege to have your name on the back of the jersey and even have a number. Because it's an opportunity to build not who you are right now, but it's an opportunity to build who you're going to become. And I want you to hear that again. It's going to build who you're going to become, which is your identity. Because one day basketball will be taken away from all of you. One day basketball will not be the thing where you can just show up and nonchalantly or casually pick up a ball and start shooting the shit. It'll be life. And I say that because probably already, you guys already have shit going on in your life, which is why you step foot on the floor. And so when I was your age, I had things like brain tumors, arthritis, kidney disease, liver disease, lung disease, epilepsy, 30 medications day and night. So my identity was rooted in just being sick. My identity was just rooted in being in the hospital. Or if I showed up to a gym, maybe a coach would try to give me some guidance, or maybe I have some friends, and maybe they would try to recruit me. But 90% of the time, I couldn't. And something that I want to put your guys' attention to, that I really want you guys to take away just from the short brief period I'm going to be here today, is 3 things. Maturity, discipline, and respect. When you have maturity, discipline, and respect, no matter what you go through, no matter who tries to belittle you, no matter what you feel about yourself because you may feel you're incapable of doing something, as long as you have maturity, respect, and discipline, you're going to be good. And something that I had during the years, and I could show up on the basketball floor, was maturity, discipline, and respect. And what's interesting is every single one of you have that to a degree. Because guess what? If you didn't have it, you wouldn't be able to be coached. You wouldn't be coachable by those people who care about providing value and knowledge to you. And when you can understand how important those 3 things are to continue to build, that's how you can take this way bigger than just high school basketball, way bigger than just the YMCA, way bigger than just your local community, way bigger than just your hoop outside, your local playground. Because now you become an now? How did you get to standing in front of me? How did you get to have the credibility or the even knowledge for Josh to ask me to come speak to you guys? The way I got that was because I was coachable. I was willing to listen. And I was willing to show respect, discipline, and maturity to anyone who was in my orbit. Because I actually wanted to learn. Because I actually wanted to grow. Because I actually wanted to change. And so when I was 18, all my peers, all my friends graduated high school. A lot of you, you still have 2 years left, right? Because you got 16, 15-year-olds, right? So you got a lot of time. Because when you hit 18, you got to start asking yourself that hard question I'm asking you right now. Who are you outside basketball? But let's be honest, not everyone is going to have the privilege to play outside basketball. Not every one of us is going to be able to go somewhere from this unless we can implement these lessons and the stories and these characteristics of who you are outside of the school. And so when I was 18 and all my peers were like, yo, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a nurse, I'm going to be going to this university, this college, my doctors came and approached me and said, hey, you have a year to live. You have a year to live. And when I heard that, and when it hit me for the first time ever, I had to ask that really hard question. Who am I outside this? Who am I outside the hospital? Who am I outside of my disease? Who am I out of the hard times and trials and tribulations I go through on a daily basis? And I didn't have that freaking answer. And so, I'm sure you guys would assume, mentally I checked out. I quit. And so instead of implementing the characteristics that I didn't even know I had, maturity, respect, and discipline into my routines, into my day-to-day life, into my being, I actually detrimented myself purposely. Because I believed that my work was tied to nothing other than being sick. And some of you may have your own battles and your own trials and tribulations of being in hospitals or maybe diseases or maybe sicknesses, but at the end of the day, you break that down, all it is hard times. Tough shit. And I know for a fact that everyone of you in here have tough shit. You have to go through and even step foot on this shit floor. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't care to even be here in the first place. And so as I continue to progress and mature, I had to accept the reality that there's a good chance that I was going to be here in about 6 to 8 months. So as my life continued to progress and get worse, I had all these mental issues because when we were born, me and my brother were 2 out of 50 worldwide. And what had happened is when I was 15, so actually in your shoes, I lost my little brother Cameron at 10 years of age. So in your exact shoes, I used to have a brother. But my brother sadly passed away because of the same issue I was going through. And so as I continued to go through this really difficult time being at the hospitals and different medical experts telling me this and that and saying I couldn't make it past this or whatever, naturally it became a point where I had to do something. And so it was about a month outside from when I was going to go into this hospital, and I was going to have to receive things like chemo treatments, other medications, other stimulating things that would eventually just ruin my pre-existing immune system. And my aunt had the idea of creating what's called a GoFundMe page. Because in the medical system, in the hospitals, it does cost a lot of money to depend on that. But something that was more powerful than just the GoFundMe was someone who saw that GoFundMe. That person who saw that GoFundMe was my coach, my mentor. You look around, you got your coaches, your mentors. It's a blessing to have people who are willing to give you guidance and give you coaching and try and direct you to a certain dream. That's what I received. So one day, I'm sitting in my kitchen, random man knocks on my door, he's got a video camera, doesn't story, and my brother passing away, and, me having to go through all these treatments at only 18 years old. So I said, sure. Come on in. So my parents were coming in. We sit at my kitchen dining table. At the time, I was a huge sneakerhead. I still am. Grabs my shoebox, easy shoebox. Says, I'm going to put my camera on this as a tripod, and I get you to sit across me. So sure. Presses record. He doesn't tell me his name. Doesn't tell me why he's here. Doesn't tell me what he's there for. All he says to me is, have you ever thought about killing yourself? Pretty blunt, pretty direct, and pretty to the point, considering no one had ever asked me that. And what that did was that created an avenue of vulnerability, reception. Because then now I can actually listen to what this man was saying. So now after he says this, I start crying, I start getting all emotional, starts asking me, bro, why do you love sneakers so much? Why do you love shoes so much? I start talking about basketball. I start saying, well, growing up, I could never really play the sport. Anytime I did, I felt kind of out because I had arthritis and all these other issues. I could never play to the extent I wanted to. So shoes is a way to keep in touch with the game I love. Says that's really sick. It's like, how does it feel when you do feel connected along with peers and people you play with? I said, it feels great. He said, so why aren't you doing it more? I said, because I was told I couldn't. And I said I was told because I'm going to be going into a procedure where potentially I could pass images to my brother. And he said something to me that forever changed my life. Soon after that, he's like, all right, Mike, I got a surprise for you. Wraps up the video camera and everything. My parents come upstairs. They're all welcoming. They're like, honey, how was it? Meanwhile, I'm like, tears and shit leaving my face. Just had the most blunt, realistic realization I've ever had in my life. He's like, come on. So Uber comes outside, parents come in with me, and in the car, once again, he pulls out his video camera. He starts asking, Michael, what do you want to do once you get healthy? And I said, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure because you're good. It's all good. So then he says, I say, what do you mean I'm going to be healthy? I'm supposed to be in the hospital for months. He's like, yeah, but what are you going to do after all of that? What are you going to do once this is all ended? He said, how would it feel if you were able to come on the gym with me and a couple of my athletes have worked, trained? He said, how would it feel if you would pull up to the YMCA with me, and even though you might be on chemo, or you might be having tons of medications or issues, you're still in the gym working towards your dream? I said, that would be pretty sick. So he starts pushing me towards what's called my ideal reality, the thing I wanted the most. And something that I want you guys to remember is that in life, whenever you're trying to accomplish something, you focus on two things, which is what and why. What are you doing and why are you doing it? In my experience, once you know that, that's how the middle part gets solved by itself. And that would be, in other words, called faith. So we're pulling up close to Scotiabank Arena. And as we're getting there, I'm a huge Toronto Raptors fan. I love the shoes, I love all the kicks, all that stuff, right? And essentially, we park out front, Christian pulls up the back, parents walk in, and we start going into the arena, and he has this like pass. He's like, yo, just follow me. So we start going down the rows, and we're passing the courtside suites, and then we're passing the bench. but he jumps over me at the Toronto Raptors halftime game. I'm not here worried about am I going to be good tomorrow, so that I'm getting jumped over or dunked on by the GOAT, best owner in the world. I know a lot of you are probably going to ask humility, but can't do much less than GOAT. No. But what this taught me and what this brought me was hope and motivation outside of what I was going through. And so as I continued to progress as the day went on, I ended up seeing him one more time before he left. And this guy gives me a pair of shoes. He says to me, bro, I just wanted to give you this as a reminder of this day so that when you're going through chemo treatments, when you're going through your hard times, you can remind yourself of this day. And I started getting emotional. I was like, am I going to see you guys again? He's like, you'll see. So 24 hours later, here I am. I got no hair. I got tubes in my chest. I'm in the hospital receiving chemo because I was having multiple different issues and diagnosis. 24 hours after that, who shows up to my door? Jordan, Christian. Yeah. How old was I when this happened? Say it again. How old were you when this was happening? In this moment, I was 18. So this is still all this is all that time today. Thank you for the question. So now we're 2 days in. I'm the worst I've ever been. I'm the weakest I've ever been, and I'm the most sick I've ever been. My identity was becoming so real. I forgot who I was outside of my illnesses. I forgot who I was outside of the tubes in my chest. And so the doctors come in my room, and when you have chemo, when you have no immune system, your body can what's called reject the cells. So it can cause other issues with the pre-existing issues. So I woke up one morning and I had this huge baseball on my head. It's like a big ass ball, the size of a baseball. Get rushed to the hospital, doctors check it out, they tell me, yo, you have lymphoma, cancer of the lymph node. I have no immune system. I haven't been able to leave the hospital since the Toronto Raptors game, and now I have a lymphoma that most likely they told me I would die in the next 24 hours if I didn't go and ASAP surgery. What happens? My parents are beside me, they're emotional because they're like, oh my God, we already lost one son. Is this going to happen to Michael now? Doctors are freaking out, they don't know what to do with me. Who else is in the room? My mentor. He looks at me as I'm crying and bawling, and he says to me, Mike, remember, you're going to play basketball one day. And I kind of like brushed it off, and I was like, oh God, that's bullshit. I was like sobbing, I was tearing up, right? And then what happens is I start looking up, and I start screaming at the ceiling, and I say, why, Cam? My brother's name was Cam. I said, why, Cam? Why does my life suck? Why do I have to suffer so much? And you know what my mentor does? He says, how dare you? He says, how dare you should brother has a reason to be sick and sad. You should be doing something that make him smile. You should be doing something that make him proud. He said, how do you think he feels watching you suffer and die in the hospital? You think he's happy? And right there, I had no tears, I had no emotion, I had nothing to say other than just pausing and being present in my reality. Fast forward the next hour or two, I get rushed into the surgery. Thank God, next day I wake up, I don't have this lymphoma. Everything's kind of normalizing, but I still remember what he told me. He comes and sees me the next day. He has this big ass paper. He writes on it at the top, we do have. Something I want you guys to remember the rest of your life is the way you create any greatness in your life is you have to be the person in alignment with what you want before it's here. So, if you guys want to be in the NBA, if you want to go play college ball, if you want to go to university ball, are you guys acting like that version of yourself? Are you guys you to do right now to have that result. So he writes that on a piece of paper, and he says to me, Mike, what do you want? I said, honestly, I would just love to be able to play basketball, no pain, no limitations, no one to judge me for just an hour. Kind of chuckled, he was like, that's it. Yeah? So, okay, man. So he gets me these exercises. He gets me this whole sheet. He says, look, every single day, while you're on chemo, while you're attached to these machines, you have to do these exercises. He said, every day, you feel like you can't breathe, you feel like you have pneumonia, you feel like you have mucus, you have to promise you're going to drink 500 milliliters of water a day. He said, every day, you're going to wake up and you're going to journal. You're going to open your book and you're going to journal about how do you feel playing basketball, no limitations, no pain, and no issues. And so as this continues to manifest and build, over the next year, I started doing things that the doctors were even surprised I could do. Someone who was on medications day and night, barely could walk, barely could talk, no hair, weakest he's ever been. I was at the downtown United States putting up shots. Then, doctors would come in and visit me, they would see me. What would I be doing? I would hold my IV pole, and I would just practice walking from here to maybe the bench, which was the distance between my bed and the door. Then I had this water cup beside me. I kept it more than I could, just to replenish myself and again be true to my goal, my dream. And so as these steps continue to get bigger and bigger, then I went from just being able to walk from my bed to my door to then I was walking out my house. Then from my house I was walking to the gym. And from the gym I was actually moving off the dribble, doing drills. Then after that I was going to calisthenic park. I was doing push-ups, chin-ups. All this within 2 years after I couldn't even leave my bed. So how did I do that? Well, I did that because I had a purpose. Something that might have gone over your heads, but Christian made me realize that I needed to live for my brother and make him smile. That was my purpose. That was the thing that got me up to do that hard shit when quite frankly I didn't want to do it. That was the thing that made me show up for my future self when there was no evidence right now proving to me that I would even be here in a year. And I know that my story and what I'm saying today is a very extreme example, but that's just real. That's how I'm standing in front of you today. And something that I want to point out between that journey is I had two things that are very crucial for you guys as basketball players in all of your lives, which is one, commitment, and two, communication. When you break that down, I had a commitment to my dream. I had a commitment to my dream of playing basketball for one day, which made me accountable to show up, despite when maybe my coaches weren't around me, despite when maybe it was just me and my bed. I also had communication and received feedback from my mentors and my coaches. I didn't know all this shit myself. How did I learn it? I learned it because I communicated from my coach, from my mentors. And what you can do is you can break this down on the smallest scale. Whereas if you guys are point guards, or you guys are just quite frankly even on the floor, first of all, you have to communicate to your teammate if there's a screen. You have to communicate to your teammate if there's an open look. And especially if you're trying to be a leader, committing yourself to this game and to this dream that you say to yourself you want, you gotta own it and you gotta be the dream. You gotta be that person now. Because you're 16 and what's gonna happen in 2 years? What's gonna happen in 3 years? What's gonna happen in 10 years? Because you don't wanna have to look back on this time of your life and think that you left something on the floor that you didn't handle, or you didn't respect, or you didn't cherish. And you don't want to look at yourself again and say, I didn't have the maturity, discipline, and respect to honor my dream. take this opportunity you have in the gym and with your coaches for granted. You can utilize that motivation, that struggle, and those hard times that you naturally go through to make you a better person. Make you a better person, not even a player, a better person.